Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we're happy to introduce our Porch Play Chats. And these are conversations that focus on a wide range of topics with experts that are just as passionate about play as we are. You can find the latest Porch Play Chats and learn more about IPA USA by visiting our website at IPAUSA.org. And if you click on that top right-hand corner, you'll have access to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Instagram page. Every week on Mondays, we release a Porch Play Chat on a new topic. So I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Lisa Murphy. Hey, Lisa.
Nice to see you.
And Kristen. So, Kristen, can you pronounce your last name for me?
Peterson.
Peterson. There we go. So, Kristen is the founding director of a nature and play school in central Minnesota called Butterfly Hill Nature Preschool. And I am so excited to have her with us. Along with homeschooling 3 of her 4 children, Kristen enjoys educating others on the importance of play in all stages of life through Learning Wild, her online platform for play-based content, digital courses, and her podcast, the Play-Based Learning Podcast. You are just right in our wheelhouse. So we love finding peeps, Kristen.
Yes, me too.
We feel like we've just found peeps when we do these Porch Play Chats. So today, Kristen's going to talk to us about Hummingbird versus Helicopter, the teacher's role in a play-based program. And so I agree with you. Teachers really they feel like they're under so much pressure. And so how can we mix that up a little bit and get us back to what we know works?
All right. Well, I did turn on my play light for you because I'm not on my porch.
Oh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And just FYI, my porch is virtual.
Oh, you really don't need to let people know.
Lisa's is real. I feel bad though. I don't want people to think, oh my God, look at her porch. I would love that, but it's not real.
The fact that we can't see your ears lets us know that it's
yes, that's right. My ears disappear. Yeah. And that's what I do with my students to add a little humor to our Zooming. So anyway, I'm sorry, Kristen.
No, it's okay. So I think we have a stereotypical view of what a teacher looks like. It's something that we grew up with. When I was younger, I played teacher. Like that is what I did. And I would line up all of my stuffed animals and I would line up all of the dolls. And it was like, I'm going to stand in front and I have this pointer and I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know. And when you're naughty, I'm going to tell you that you're naughty. And it was this sense of control. Like that is what I grew up thinking teachers were and did. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the same for many, many, many people. So when we get to college and there's so many things, so many different types of programs for college, for teacher programs and early childhood programs. But my experience in college, and I'm sure many other people, that stereotypical view, that myth that it wasn't busted. So I went into my teaching practice for early childhood education in preschool with that teacher mindset. Like, I'm going to fill you up with all the things that I think you need to know. And you're going to sit and you're going to listen and you're going to do crisscross applesauce and you're going to look at me and I'm going to tell you all the things you need to know. And you have to pay attention. And after I found my fairy godmother, Lisa Murphy, I did all of the work to start switching over to a more play-based, child-centered way of doing things in my classroom, and found that that wasn't accepted in the program that I was in. So I quit and then ended up starting my own. So we don't play teacher in my program now. And that can feel kind of weird to start. So we have to get rid of that playing teacher or that I'm going to teach you all the things mindset. And There's a couple analogies that I like to use. So I think of the teachers in my classroom and myself as like a quarterback's coach. So if you know football, the quarterback's coach is the person who builds a relationship with the quarterbacks on the team, and then they analyze what they're doing, they observe, and then they give feedback so that the players can grow, so that they can learn. And I think that that's the same thing that we need to view ourselves as in a play-based classroom with young children, that we are the quarterback's coach. So the first thing that we're doing is we're building that relationship with the children. We are spending time with them. We are giving them plenty of time to organize new information in their brains, to discover, to inquire, to be curious. And then we are there as a support system to help troubleshoot, to help them with the social and emotional skills that they like. That's the biggest thing that they need at that point in time when they're 3, 4, and 5. And then over time, you kind of just get to like sit on the sidelines and watch the game happen. And I think that that can be very, very uncomfortable for many adults because of the stereotypical teacher mindset. Like, I'm not doing anything right now. So it feels weird. It feels like I'm not teaching. It feels like they're not learning anything. But we have to let go of that and know that they're learning all the things that they need to know in that time that we are giving them in the classroom, the space that we're giving them. We're giving them time to do all of Lisa Murphy's 7 things: the move, the discuss, observe, sing, play, create. Did I miss any?
No, you got it.
Yeah, so we have to give time for all of those things. We have to be there for them to help with all the social and emotional stuff that they need help with when they are 3, 4, and 5. And then at a certain point in the year, it's going to be like you're not doing anything. And then that's when you know you've done everything, is when you're not doing anything. So that took a while for me to figure out, and for the teachers in my program to figure out. But once we did, it's like learning magic is what it is.
So
so
amazing. I want to ask you, in the nature-based preschool, can you give us sort of what happens? And then I want to know the role of the teacher, but I really want to know so that the audience knows what happens, because I want a forest kindergarten so bad in my college campus, and we have a forest, so we could do it. So, but think about what does that look like, so people can get a visual, and then how does the teacher do exactly what you just said? Okay,
so I want to go into just a little bit the hummingbird versus helicopter. So you've heard the term helicopter parent, maybe, and a helicopter parent is a very loud presence in a child's life, hovering over, making all the decisions. It's loud. And I encourage teachers to be hummingbirds. So you're kind of just, you're there in the sky, fluttering around. You're not loud at all. You hardly are noticed until you're right there. And I encourage people and my staff to stand back, and when you hear like elevated voices, like children are needing some help with conflict resolution, I always tell people to pause and listen and see where it goes. And if it escalates and you feel like you need to step in because somebody might get hurt, that is when you would hummingbird in and talk things through with children, and then hummingbird out. And then they didn't even know that you were there. So that's kind of the hummingbird versus helicopter. I encourage teachers to be hummingbirds. So what does that look like? So in a nature/forest program, children take a lot of risks. So we encourage that. We encourage risk taking, but that can be overwhelming, and it could be a scary thing for many early childhood educators. So let's think of an example. We're out in the woods. A child finds a tree that has fallen down, and they start kind of climbing up it. It's like accessible from the ground and they start climbing up it. And as a helicopter teacher, you might be like, oh, be careful. Oh, be careful. But as a hummingbird teacher, you might swoop in and say, do you feel safe? And that gives the child a chance to kind of think about where their body is in relation to the log, in the relation to the space around them, and to check in with themselves and say, yes, I do feel safe, or no, I don't feel safe. And then they can continue going. And also, like as a hummingbird teacher, just making sure that there's no hazards around in the forest, like clearing off all of the branches from underneath the log that are already fallen down, or pushing down on the log to make sure that it's not rotten through the core, so that when they step onto it, they're not falling through or it doesn't break halfway up. So just kind of mitigating all of those hazards so that they can explore freely is what a facilitator in a forest would do. As far as like in a classroom, like in our regular indoor classroom, what a hummingbird teacher would look like, what your role as a teacher is to spend time setting up the environment. So that is ensuring that there are lots of different things for the kids to do, lots of different opportunities, and making sure that that environment is a yes environment, so that children can be free to make decisions about how they want to spend their time, and they are supported in doing that. Do I need to explain yes environments at all, or is that something people are familiar with? Do you think?
I'd explain it, Kristen.
Okay. So a yes environment to me means that it's okay if it's not hurting anyone, anything, or yourself. And so if, sorry about that.
There you are.
Yep. I thought I turned off my phone notifications, but my husband just tried to call. So sorry about that.
Okay.
So that would mean, so yes, environment. It's okay if it's not hurting anyone, anything, or yourself. So if you see a child picking up a block, ready to throw it, and there's a child in the way, hummingbird in, and say, if you throw that block in this direction, it could hit so-and-so, that would hurt. I see you're needing to throw. Let's find a place for you to throw. And so finding something that's a little bit softer and a space where he can do the throwing or she can do the throwing, that would be an example of a yes environment. So trying to, the things that may not be, that could be more of a hazard, making them into a yes. Like, I see the child is needing this type of movement or this type of something, and then fixing, like setting up the environment in a way that is conducive to those needs.
Love it.
And previous viewers are going to see some overlap between what you're talking about and so many people that we've had on the porch already. And I think that that's important and should be acknowledged, that the play-based community, you'll see so much overlap of people sharing the same message, right? I hear Mike Huber in your voice today. I hear Ross in your voice today. I definitely hear Rusty in your voice today. And I think it's important because I think it allows the play community to pull strength and credibility from the fact that it's not just single lone voices, right? There is a group of us who believe this. And yeah, we might have different tunes in which we're singing a play song, but we're all still singing a play song. And I think that's important.
Well, and I think the other thing, when you're a researcher and you're doing your literature review, you've done enough when you keep hearing the same things over and over. And so if we were to look at play-based learning from the research focus, which hasn't been done in so long because there was no funding for play-based research, we would keep hearing these same things over and over and over again, and know that we had saturated the literature and that we should be paying attention to what we keep hearing over and over again. So I think it's a beautiful thing to recognize that our pedagogy our teaching approaches are similar across play-based learning. And if we would just listen
right,
and
putting into practice what the research has already told us instead of
yes,
continuing to think we have to defend something that's been proven over and over and over and over and over and over.
again.
I want to go back to something Kristen said, and maybe if you want to elaborate on it, or if not, that's cool, but I love it. And you might have just said it in passing, that the myth didn't get buried or busted. The myth of playing teacher didn't get busted during your teacher training program, whatever that might have looked like. And I like that a lot.
In fact, Kristen, I wrote down Kristen Peterson suggests, and so I teach early childhood, so the first 2 years of their 4-year degree. And we play all the time, and play is the focus of our teacher education program. But I was that child who lined up all my dolls and all the stuffed animals and played teacher. And so I think that's a wonderful way to get them to, very first class they take, I'm going to say, talk about how you used to play teacher.
Oh.
And then I'm going to have them all talk and then share out. And I'm going to say, it's nothing like that. And then we're going to.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And then, but look, I got that from you. So I'm going to say, Kristen Peterson taught me that, because I think it's important that we get that myth right out of their heads.
Yeah.
Because if you think that's going to sustain you, or that's what's going to make you a good teacher, we want to nip that in the bud. Because, you know, with all due respect, if that right out the gate is ripping that rug under you, and you go, maybe this isn't the career for me. Wouldn't you rather have somebody make that choice the first week of school than 20 years into teaching, of wondering, like, why isn't this model working? And you're like, how come nobody told you that's not even the model? It's not that the model's not working. It's the wrong model.
Yes.
Well, and I think the power in that sort of play interaction with them is that, you know, we talk about the importance of play, we talk about the research of play, we talk about what play they play, and I come back in and on the big whiteboard they have to say, what did you do socially? What did you do emotionally? What did you do fine motor wise? What did you do physically? What gross motor wise? What did you do in using language? What cognitive skills did you use when we were outside playing? And so they see it, but I think that myth busting is the perfect thing to get them in the right place. I'm so excited. I can't wait to.
And the other thing I know about
classroom.
The other thing I know about Deb, one, I know she's going to actually use that. So I think
I
that's
most
awesome.
certainly am.
But the other thing,
my
after
gosh, I
doing
love
the
it.
Porch chats now with Deb for a year, I also know that, Kristen, she's going to ask you to write an article about the quarterback coach system.
I am. That was on my list.
If you don't already do that as a workshop, that needs to be a workshop. That needs, because it's so perfect.
It's perfect.
I mean, I'm not even like, I can't talk football, but I know but I know just enough about football that makes 100% sense to me.
Yes.
So I have to tell you a funny story about that. That was last night at 11:30 at night. I was like, I like to jot notes down because I knew I had this morning and I just wanted to get some thoughts out of my head. And so I was like, okay, I need like an analogy for like something. And I was thinking football. So my husband was laying there and I'm like, okay, tell me what the coach does in football. Tell me what the assistant coach does in football. Is there somebody who analyzes like all of the plays and then like tells them, like observes and analyzes and then does the things? And he's like, maybe the quarterback's coach. And I was like, okay, quarterback coach. And he's like, no, it's quarterback's coach. And I was like, oh, okay. So I even use the right term, quarterback's coach.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely
that moving out. And the phrase, when you aren't doing anything, it's because you did everything.
Everything. These are
on fire today.
Woo!
These are like, so that goes into the so write that one down because we've got to keep doing that one. But you also need an article on that one too. Okay. You need an article on.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. If you
there's
don't feel like you're doing anything, there's a good chance it's because you've already done
it.
Everything.
Yes. It's beautiful. And if we could just get teachers to recognize that, I use the thing of you're not standing in the front of the class and you're not teaching, right? You're observing children and you're asking the right question when without interrupting the play scenario. You're being what you were talking about with the hummingbird, which I love that analogy too, versus
the loud
the
helicopter.
loud helicopter. Because I always talk about stop being so risk averse. We're way too safe with children, and and then when we think about that, the role of the teacher, and you do these roles that you've been talking about, the quarterback to coach, the hummingbird versus the helicopter, it really provides an image that people recognize that go, oh, I do that. Oh, I do that. Oh, I do that. And so, and it might help them learn a different strategy to use. Instead of this, do this, right? That whole don't do this, do this. And that is, I still think, a book around
Well, and Deb likes
DAP.
to, it is. And back in the day, we were willing to be a little bit more direct about, stop it. This right here, you just need to stop. And I appreciate that we are caregivers. I appreciate that we're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But if we're spending 6 months trying to, soften the blow, we could have already moved through and started perfecting new practice. But we're so busy walking on eggshells because we don't want to offend anybody. When really at the end of the day, it would have been better for all parties if somebody had just said, throw that stupid worksheet in the trash.
Yes.
Just stop it.
Well, and think about how much we're damaging children. Think
By
about the
tolerating poor
opportunities.
practice because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, I got over that like 20 years ago when I was trying to be nice, because sometimes we're just too
We're
nice.
a nice profession.
We're nice.
But it can get in the way.
It can get in the way. And it harms children when we're too nice. So we have to not worry about the adult that we need to worry about them. But I finally realized after directing for, I don't know, it probably took me 7 or 8 years to figure it out, which was sad. Out of the 13 and a half years I did it, I finally realized that I couldn't save every teacher, that teachers were harming children, even though they weren't beating them, but their practices were harming a child's development. And so I had to be the advocate for the child. And I had to say to the teacher, this may not be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
This is not, that our philosophy is not what I'm seeing happen. I'm happy to coach you on that philosophy. I'm happy to help you with that. But if it's not something that you believe in and you're passionate about, this isn't probably the right fit for you. And so sometimes you just have to coach them out. And I did have several teachers that I did that to come back to me like, you would think they would hate me forever. They came back to me years later and they would say, that's the best conversation I could have ever had, because you're right.
Yeah.
I found a passion, and it wasn't teaching children.
That.
Yeah, it wasn't teaching children.
I used to tell teachers, there's another profession out there wondering where you are.
Yes,
they're wondering where you are, and we're wondering why you haven't found them yet. Like,
I love that too.
Time to go. They're wondering where you are.
So I'm sorry, Kristen, we've gone totally so far.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. I wanted to add to that. I think that also playing teacher, it's exhausting. Like when I was teaching in that traditional preschool and like being that teacher that I thought I had to be, it's exhausting. And once you find play and once you give the children time and once you are that quarterback's coach instead of the loud helicopter teacher, there's so much magic in that. And it is so much quieter. It's so much happier. It's so much more developmentally appropriate, of course. And I think all around just healthier on your brain as a teacher, and much healthier, of course, for the children. So it's beneficial to both parties to be that quarterback's coach versus the helicopter teacher.
I always tell teachers, stop making your job so hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be joyful. You should have
trust that it's enough, right? Because if we're still locked and loaded on that teacher mug jug model, it doesn't feel like enough. So we don't trust it. And I think one of the reasons I've collected little bits of sound bites is because you never know which one of the sound bites is going to work best with who's in front of you, right? So I've always been a fan of figuring out how to be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. And then Anna Quinlan says one that I love, which is that if we, at some point, we find ourselves at the sidelines of their lives, which is where we belong if we did our job right, which is exactly, Kristen, what you just said.
Yes.
You did what you needed to do.
Cool.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think the lessons in this Porch Play Chat are to trust what you know, maybe not based on the program that you went to, what you were taught.
Yeah.
Right. To trust children because they'll show you what they need and when they need you. And to just have fun and be joyful in the work, and just think what a relief that would be for teachers everywhere.
And I'm going to jump on the verbiage there. And you know this about me, so I'm okay. I'm okay being direct with you about it. It's not always fun. It is joyful. It is playful, a playful spirit, but the fun is not the end goal. Because it can be very much not fun. It can be very much not happy. But at the end of the day, we all still want to be here. And so it allows us to push through maybe the muck and the mire, because we still have that shared goal. But I get nervous when people think that just because you're working with young children,
it's always fun.
That it's always fun, because it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. There's a lot that you have to learn and sift through, and learn how to make connections with those kids that are seeking attention in ways, and troubleshoot, and like it's a huge job, and it's not always fun.
No, but I think the important thing is, yes, you feel fulfilled at the end of the day. So thank you for that. But I do think what, I always tell students, I'll say, you're working really hard. It's just not the way you thought you would be.
Oh, right? That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
You're still working hard.
Yeah. You're not saying they're painting your fingernails while they're playing, right?
Or checking your Facebook.
Yeah. No.
And if you are,
it's hard work, but it's not the work you thought you would be doing. So, if we could just get them to recognize what the myth is and bust that myth. We should call it the Teaching Mythbusters. What do you think?
There's a series.
I like that. The Teaching Mythbusters. Yeah, write that down. We come up with all this stuff while we're doing these, Kristen, because it's just
we'll actually move on all the notes we take.
Just so you know, I claim the book title Teacher Mythbusters. So don't use that in a book title.
Okay, got it. It's yours.
Lisa said you should do a workshop on this or whatever. I was like, maybe that's the title of my book I have drumming in my head.
I'll sign a non-compete with that one.
Teaching Mythbusters. I think and we'd all write it with you, Kristen. So just so. Yeah, we could write it with you. And
amazing.
Because I think
at this rate, Deb and I are currently writing 17 books.
It would be so nice, because again, in the play-based community, we have so many shared values and shared teaching strategies that I think, because everybody is so focused, and poor Mike Huber and we got into a great conversation in the last Porch Play Chat around assessment and what are we doing? We're really not doing what teachers should be doing. because we're too focused on the checklist versus on interacting with children. So, I think those are really important lessons that make us reflect on exactly what we're doing and what's causing us to do that and how we can push back. And so I think all these things are really important in the way that we move forward. Any closing thoughts, Kristen? This was amazing.
No, this was so fun. Thank you for having me on.
Well, we hope to have you back. So be thinking. Yeah, in July. We're doing another group in July. So I'll put you on the list. So I'm going to close this up, but don't go anywhere. So hang on a minute while I do my little last spiel here. So for more information on other Porch Play Chats, be sure to visit IPA-USA.org, and we hope you'll join us in our play advocacy work. And until next time, thanks for listening and keep on playing.